What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 8 of Rebuilding Chelsea here in Football Manager 2017. And today I have for you guys the last game of the season, and the last game, hopefully ever, for this football club under my leadership, certainly here in the Championship. As you can see, top of the table, we have smashed the points record by 1 point. We've got 107 points with a game to spare. Of course, Reading's record of 106 has been beaten, which is a good achievement. I know there's going to be people who at the start of the season probably thought I was going to go unbeaten or would have expected me to go unbeaten are going to now write in the comments, you beat the points total, well done, sarcastic clap, you were Chelsea. I kind of get that, but I feel like we've done this the hard way. We've ended up with the record point total with a game to spare, and I'm hoping that today we can kind of cap off this season with a good little result at Stamford Bridge against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Since the last episode, it's worth noting there's been a lot of games played. Of course, last time out was against Reading. Since then, 15 games we've played, and I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but of course, as you can see, lots of wins. It's been a really good run of form, and it's worth noting that Kelechi and Rashford have both been out with long-term injuries, so it's kind of been our alternative strike force really banging in the goals for us. Anyway, as you can see, we did beat West Brom in the FA Cup 5th round. That was a good little result, 2-0. We then beat Fulham, who have been flying high in the table, 2-1. A good away win. Will Hughes with an 85th minute winner. We then took on Leeds United at home and another good little 2-0 win. Another clean sheet, something we've had a fair few of this year. Unfortunately, our FA Cup run came to an end against Newcastle. I did talk about last episode potentially doing the FA Cup again, and it's not meant to be disrespectful to Newcastle fans. Newcastle wasn't exactly a super glamorous game, and so I just decided to play through it. I was on a little run of playing on a Sunday night whilst Match of the Day was on, and I didn't really feel like live comming. It didn't feel like a must live com game, and unfortunately for us, we did get kind of a little bit outclassed, losing 2-0. Anyway, since then, as you can see, we've gone on a really good run on in the league. We beat Birmingham City 2-0, Barnsley 1-0, Charlton 5-3. That was a weird game, actually. Charlton towards the bottom of the table. They caused us some problems. Martin Odegaard getting an assist, and Martin Odegaard, what a performance he has put in to end the season. He's improved a lot as a player this year, and as you can see, to end the year, in his last 5 games, 7 assists, 4 goals. Not a bad little tally. Not a bad little tally at all for a player of his nature. Anyway, going on from that, we beat Bristol City 1-0. Derby County 4-0, Kelechi getting a hat-trick. Unfortunately, this was the game where he did get injured, and he was out for quite a long time with that. Anyway, the next game against Cardiff, a 5-2 win. A very good result, especially when you consider then when at 2-1 up, we actually had a man sent off, Nakanake, given his marching orders, but we kept playing well and we kept scoring, and we came out deserved victors. Anyway, the last 2 games, not so many clean sheets, unfortunately, but the goals continued to fly in as we beat Middlesbrough 3-1 and followed that with another 3-1 away win against MK Dons. And in the last game that we played, it was against Brentford. It finished 1-1. Jordan Ibe with a goal for us, unfortunately. As you can see, they equalised not long left in the second half, and unfortunately a draw is how it ended. So in terms of the league table, we have finished very, very comfortably towards the top of the table. It's been a great season all in all. As I said at the beginning, kind of expected this. Very glad we kind of matched my expectations for the year. Looking at it here, going into the final game, Huddersfield, Reading and Bournemouth all fighting for the last automatic promotion spot, and towards the bottom in the playoffs. There's still quite a lot to play for the smaller teams. So this should be a fairly interesting kind of end of the season live com. Anyway, I do want to talk about the squad and review them a little bit, but I feel like it makes more sense to do that after today's game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. In terms of the squad, Marcus Rashford comes back into the team. As I said, he's been out injured for a little while. He picked up a double hernia, was out for 7 weeks, so quite a substantial injury. Has impacted his physicals a little bit, but he still looks like a very good player. Capable of playing half a match today, so he's going to play that. As I mentioned, Kelechi also out injured at the moment. He has been out with a similar injury, if I remember correctly. His was strained knee ligaments, out for 5 weeks. As you can see, he still currently has that, and he's out for 2 to 9 days. Unfortunately, going to miss the last game of the season. Reece Nelson, the only other player missing for today's game. He's injured. Of course, a good little winger, this guy. 18 years old, showed a ton of promise this season. Didn't give him quite, perhaps, as many first-team opportunities as I would have liked, but he has performed very well for us, and, you can see at £11 million, he's had not a bad first season, and he's a young English player with a ton of potential, and I'm kind of excited to see what he can do going forward. There is a little bit of transfer news that we have done going into next season. As you can see, Regen Day came and went. I went a bit crazy with regens. We've got a lot of exciting young English players coming in. I will probably review the pick of the bunch towards the start of next season. There's just too many to go through. And of course, we've got a lot of the Brazilians we also agreed to sign. One big signing we have made, though, is Chris Smalling. We've signed him for £19 million, which is not a small fee by any means, but he's valued at £24 million. And the big thing to note with this deal is the fact that Manchester United are paying £30,000 a week of his wages when he joins us. And he joins us on a wage of a measly £50,000. A really good bargain, if you ask me. As you can see, currently earning £120,000. So taking a substantial wage drop under, I guess, the promise that he will play regular first-team football for us. He looks like a very good player. One thing I do want to ensure that we have going into next season is a bit more experience in the side. Although youth has served us well, I feel like someone like Chris Smalling at the heart of the defence alongside Kurt Zouma could be a very welcome addition for us. What this does mean is Christiansen, who has been kicking up a bit of a fuss about leaving, may well be a player to move on. I'm hoping that we could get a very, very good offer for him. Of course, we sold Rob Holding at centre-back in the January transfer window for £40 million. Christiansen got a little bit more potential. He's a very good player, great kind of relishing big matches, great kind of consistent performer. I'd like to keep him if possible. I feel like him, Kurt Zouma and Smalling could make for a very nice rotational kind of defence. But at the same time, if the right offer came in, it might be hard to keep hold of him, and I kind of already understand that. Anyway, as I said, let's submit our team for today's game. Worth noting, Rajkovic has a stubbed finger in goal, so Rob Elliott is on standby on the bench, but Rajkovic has played every single game this season. I kind of want him to end the season playing every single game. 57 matches he's been involved in, had a monumentous kind of role to play, I guess, in our season. He's been a great player, of course, the vice-captain, and hopefully he can give another good performance today. So we'll see how we get on. Obviously, things kind of a foregone conclusion. A win here would be great. It would see us smash the record for the most amount of points. We do already have the record for the most wins in a championship season this season. A win here, of course, will just add to that tally a little bit more. It's an impressive record, actually, that Reading hold for the points total. 106 points is not a mean feat by any means. The fact that we've beaten that is great. I'd like to thrash it if we can. You know, if we can get to 110 points, that would be a nice way to end the season, wouldn't it? It is worth noting we did get Manager of the Month for last month, which was a nice, addition to our little trophy cabinet that's slowly been building up. We've had it a fair few times, the award this year, but always nice to get it. And, hopefully we can kind of prove why we've got it and why I deserve it as manager by getting a good result here. Wolverhampton Wanderers, not a massive team, not doing great at the top of the table. I expect us to win, and while we are on the attack here, Masonda improved a lot since he came back from that long-term injury. Lays it off to Martin Odegaard, who bangs it into the back of the net. A lovely goal for him. His 23rd goal of the season. Martin Odegaard, for me, probably the player of the season. Obviously, as I said, I'll do a little bit of a rundown of our squad after this match, just talk about some of the top performers, high average ratings, kind of plans going forward. As I mentioned, Chris Smalling, kind of the moulded player that I do want to bring in. A little bit more experience is really what we're looking to add to this side. We've got a fantastic kind of crop of young players. It's now about just sprinkling a little bit of perhaps maturity into the side, and getting that maturity in is going to be important, I think, going into the not the Championship, the Premier League. Of course, we're in the Championship now, Jack. If we were going into the Championship, something's gone drastically wrong this season. Either way, Odegaard with a goal, nice little assist as well. Obviously, got to keep an eye on Rashford. Not a lot of fitness going his way. He's not really had the best of first halves. He's been out, obviously, for 7 weeks with an injury, so you can't really blame him for being a little bit off the pace. But at the same time, I was hoping he might get a goal, coming back from injury, last game of the season, give the fans something to remember this season by. And well, he's on the ball here. He turns his man. Can he finish it? He can finish it. He's left them with something to think about. It's like he could hear me. His 18th goal of the season, that does include goals against for Manchester United before joining us, where, of course, he did get a hat-trick. Somewhat memorably, but he's got a goal for us here, a lovely little turn, takes it round his man, and I'm surprised this got squeezed in, to be honest. It's just a nice little shot, keeper can't get down to it. He blows kisses to the crowd. I'm loving it. I've got my green suit and a red trousers. People have commented on that in the comments. I do look bloody fantastic on the sideline in 3D, my manager. I'm a connoisseur of fashion, I'm pleased to say. If you don't know, red trousers and kind of highlighter green kind of shirts, they're in at the moment. That's what you should be buying if you're fashion conscious. Either way, we're on the attack. Ibe, Rashford, he can score again. I might have to keep Rashford on for a hat-trick. If you've not seen my manager, keep an eye out for him, because he's going to love this goal. 3-0 up. And, we wanted a good performance to end the season on. We're going to get it. And there we are. Are we going to celebrate this? I should be looking at the ball, shouldn't I? But I'm too busy. We can't even see him. Well, that's anticlimactic. I promise you I look great. You only got a glance at me there. 3-0 up. I should take Rashford off. I don't want to. I don't want to. I did tell the players I was far from pleased. Rashford's confused by that. I'm just going to confuse him further. Why not? Players are looking inspired and happy elsewhere. It's just Marcus Rashford. Thinks he's above me, apparently. So yeah, he's going to be looking for his hat-trick. I've got to probably take him off after about 15 minutes of the second half, so he's not got long to go out there and try and get the hat-trick. But at the same time, he's been out for so long. I don't want to risk an injury for him. Despite how well he's playing, it's not really worth it. Part of me should take off Rajkovic as well. I might well do. I might take off Rajkovic and just give Rob Elliott kind of half an hour. He does deserve some time this season. It'd be nice to give it to him now, although Ochoa going to score for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and maybe I can't take out Rajkovic, or maybe I should. Maybe Rob Elliott would have saved that. Either way, it's a little bit disappointing. It was a nice little intricate passing move, to be fair, by Wolverhampton Wanderers, and a good little finish in off the post for Ochoa. But it's a little bit annoying, isn't it? We've done well in this game. We were dominating it. It was Wolverhampton Wanderers' kind of first real chance in the game. They've only had the one shot on target. I guess hitting the woodwork and going in doesn't even count as a shot on target, technically. But 20 minutes left. Let's take off Marcus Rashford now. He's struggling a little bit. We're going to bring in Britt Assombalonga, a player who probably will move on at the end of the season, if I'm honest. He's not set the world alight. We'll also take off Rajkovic and bring on Rob Elliott, just to give him 20 minutes as well in this game. Got one more sub. We'll hold on to it at least initially, although I've got a few ideas for players I might want to bring on. I think Loftus-Cheek likely to come on for Onoma, unless we're forced into a change now. But we're not going to be, so I am going to bring on Loftus-Cheek. Just give him a little bit of game time. Onoma's looking a little bit tired. He's not had the greatest day at the office. Makes sense, I guess, just to rotate the players there. But, this has been a bit indicative of our season. Defensively, we've looked fairly strong, but we seem to concede regardless. But going forward, we've looked very exciting with the ball at our feet. We've played some nice football, scored some nice goals. And I thought Assombalonga for a second was going to add another one to the collection. But no, it's been a good season this year, but I can't escape the fact we were Chelsea in the Championship. And I know there's going to be, calls, I guess, for me to have a harder save, have a harder challenge. They will come in time in FM17. There will be harder saves that I take on. But this is such a unique opportunity that we took on. And, we've done everything we really could do this year. Perhaps there's an argument to say we should have done better in the EFL Cup, where, of course, we completely bottled it. But ultimately, we've set a record points tally in the Championship. We've made kind of our dominance count. And, should we have a look at how the table finished? Who went up? Bournemouth went up on goal difference ahead of Reading. So I guess all teams won to end the season, which is a little bit anticlimactic. Looking at it here, actually, Huddersfield lost. Reading lost. I guess, everyone lost. Wow. Well, that's a turn up for the books. Everyone lost in the top half. Everyone bottled it. So I didn't do the biggest bottle this year. That's all that matters. Elliott makes his debut. Fantastic for him. Curtin comes down on the season. Rashford gets Man of the Match award. We're given 50k for finishing first. I mean, that is some sick prize money. In terms of our transfer fee for next season, it's kind of a weird situation because, as you can see, the overall club balance sits at £250,000. This has been a weird year in the sense that without Premier League TV money, we've been forever making a loss this year. As you can see, if we look at our profit and loss for the season, can we see that anywhere convenient? I don't know if we can. What you need... Oh, wait, is this last season and this season, like profit and loss? I don't even know. We've made money this year. I'm pretty sure we have made some money, which is nice. Obviously, we were always going to lose money because of the wages of the team. The fact we don't have the TV money, but the fact we got promoted immediately is great. Looking at our budgets for next season, we've got £70 million to spend. We did have 89, but of course we signed Chris Smalling. The wage budget sits at £2.5 million, which is a really healthy wage budget. And, that's going to allow us to bring in a few players. In terms of transfer targets I've got lined up, I'm looking at English players. You can see here I've got an English filter selected. I was looking at some of the best young players, some of the best players we might be able to sign. Worth noting I haven't got realistic transfers ticked. One player who really stood out to me as a player I'd like to sign, but I don't think I can sign, was actually going to be Raheem Sterling, which will seem like a really, I guess, unlikely signing. But I really like Raheem Sterling. I think he's a fantastic footballer, even as a Liverpool fan. The boy has talent. But you look at him here, he's had 2 dreadful seasons at City in this FM save. He played 12 games this year. I wonder if he might be interested in a move. He's only valued at £25 million. You can see we're already linked with him. I think he could be an exciting player if we could bring him in. realistically, if we just tick realistic transfers, you can see the number of players available does significantly drop. Jack Butler might be an interesting option, although I'm fairly happy with Predrag Rajkovic in goal at the moment. You can actually see that in ticking realistic transfers, Raheem Sterling remains on this list. For some reason, we've lost the English nationality. You're just going to have to believe me. Nationality English. You can see Raheem Sterling is on that list as a potential realistic transfer. I think he'd be a great addition to our team. I think he'd fit in our team. Obviously, we have Rashford, Kelechi Iheanacho. Sterling could fit in well. We have a lot of exciting attacking players. In terms of the squad that we've got here, we've had a very good year this year, but I think the thing worth kind of remembering is there's players in this team who are in the first team who I think will just drop into the under-23s next year and hopefully continue to develop as they have this year. The only difference will be they're not playing perhaps in the first team quite so much. I look at players like Ryan Sessegnon. He's a very good player. Probably not a Premier League ready player yet, age 17, however. So he's the kind of man who I'll probably stick away in the under-23s. Hopefully he can bubble along as a player over the course of the next season. And then he'll be ready for first-team football in a few years' time. So what you can really expect from me is to hopefully sign ready-made players. In terms of sales, there's a lot of players I'd like to hold on to. I mean, you look at the potential in our side. Pretty much any player with 4-star potential or more, I'd like to keep hold of. There's other players who I am perhaps a little bit more open to selling. The likes of Iorfa is one who I might be tempted with a deal depending on if a team was to offer good money. I think because our players have performed so well this year, there's going to be some significant interest in them. Because their average ratings are fairly high, the AI managers rate those players highly. They see them as more desirable because they are in form, because they are obviously young players as well. So we may well get some tempting offers that I am unable to refuse. In terms of our team for this year, I did say I'd just have a quick look at that. You can see Kelechi Iheanacho leading the way with 26 goals. Martin Odegaard getting 23 goals, although he did play a fair few more games. But Traoré, a bit of a surprise this year, the Burkinabe. It doesn't sound like Burkinabe. He's from Burkina Faso. That's how to say it, isn't it? He's 22. He's been a good player for us this year. He scored a lot of goals. I just don't know if he's good enough. He might be a player again who we try and sell on. Age 22, I like him as a player, but we have got better attacking options, and I think there's better attacking options out there. Zuma, 11 goals, not a bad tally for a centre-back. You can see the likes of Jordan Ibe, Rashford getting 8 each, Cerny, Masonda. Players have chipped in with goals this year, and you look at the assists, it's been Masonda and Odegaard as our creative forces in the team. Martin Odegaard been really impressive for me this year, the Norwegian. Has pleasantly surprised me. I've never really had an experience managing him in Football Manager. Obviously, he's been a very good player for a few years now in FM, so it's been fun kind of to have him under our wing. Charlie Masonda, again, a player who never really develops in FM. I feel like Chelsea usually shaft him. We're trying to nurture him. He's performed very well this year. Of course, was out with a broken ankle for a little while, but he's bounced back from that. He's shown great character in terms of his training effort. You can see he's continued to improve as a player. He got his first cap for Belgium as well. And I don't know, I'm excited to see what Charlie can perhaps do in the Premier League. In terms of average ratings defensively, we've been superb. Kurt Zouma on a 7.74, the pick of the bunch, a leading Premier League player. I'm happy he decided to stick it out with the team this year. I'm hoping we can sign him on a new contract. He is the driving force behind this team, really. Obviously, captain the side this year. And I'd like to make him our first team centre-back for the next, 10 years at least. I think he's that kind of player for us. Elsewhere, I already talked about Odegaard and Masonda. Nathan Ake, a surprise player. There are a lot of players who we've given chances to this year who are already at Chelsea in real life, and you'd never see them accomplish that much at the side. Nathan Ake, a fine example of what perhaps can happen to some of these players if you do give them first team football. The Dutchman, a very exciting player. I really hope he goes on to play for the national team. A player I'm definitely desperate to hold on to. Talked about Christiansen, a player who might be trying to force a move. Would be a shame if we lost him, but I can't force him to stay. Thomas Kalas, 24 years old, the Czech Republic right back. Started the season very, very well. Kind of petered off a little bit. Perhaps we didn't give him as many opportunities as he deserved. Another example of a player who I might be willing to let go if the right deal came in, because at 24, it's looking increasingly unlikely that he's kind of going to reach his potential. But yeah, really, it's been a fantastic year. It's been a season that's been relatively straightforward when it definitely couldn't have been. I've approached this kind of Chelsea side with a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? A fresh mind. I've got rid of a lot of the dead wood that got the side relegated. And speaking of Deadwood, Willian is going to be coming back at the end of the season. I'm probably going to try and sell him, if I'm honest. The Brazilian, 29 years old. If we can get £25 million for him, I'd be quite happy, and I could probably reinvest that elsewhere. But no, it's been a challenge this year in terms of the fact there's been a lot to kind of do in terms of meeting expectations, completely rejuvenating the squad. But we've done it, and I've enjoyed this year. I know for some people it's not going to be that cup of tea. I think the next year now is going to be an interesting challenge in terms of where do the board actually expect us to finish in the Premier League? Where can we finish in the Premier League? And who can we actually sign? Because it might be a case of taking on players who just haven't had the best of seasons this year and hoping that we can make the most of them. I look at players like Raheem Sterling. Charlie Austin, I kind of like him as a striker in Football Manager. I think he's always very good. He's got 9 goals in 21 games for Southampton this year, but not a ton of appearances. There's some exciting English players who I'd like to bring in. Of course, I'm not going to limit my options to English players, although that is a core component of kind of what I want to do here. You look at the transfer listed players, there's some very good players transfer listed. Matic is listed. Again, could we bring Matic back? Potentially. Iturbe's listed at Roma. And even if we get rid of kind of the transfer listed players and just look at realistic players, there's a lot of exciting players here and some who could definitely offer something to the side. The likes of Lukaku, Raheem Sterling stands out as the massive one. If I'm honest, the player I'd be desperate to land this year. You got Shaqiri as well. I know some people are perhaps going to be curious about the Premier League. What happened in the Premier League? So we'll take a quick look at it. As you can see here, Swansea, Sunderland and Burnley relegated. So not quite a Chelsea repeat this year in terms of a massive team going down. And at the top of the table, considering how mad for a large part of the season, last season, the Premier League table was, it's been relatively straightforward. Manchester United winning it for the 2nd year in a row. City, Arsenal and Tottenham completing the top 4. West Ham, Leicester and Liverpool right up there. Southampton, they're in touching distance. They could still get a top 6 finish in European football. Of course, compare that to last year. And I know last year, there was, for large spells, a really weird league table. And of course, Chelsea getting relegated still looks fairly surreal. But you actually look at the rest of the teams here. The top kind of 3 of Manchester United, Tottenham and Man City, not actually that weird. In terms of Watford, West Brom and Southampton, just to have a look at how they did, because they were kind of the surprise packages. Watford finished 12th, West Brom finished 14th, and Southampton, they might have a chance of finishing top 6. They're currently 8th. They could still slip down the table a little bit. So it's been a bit of a more normal season, a more stable season in the Premier League for the most part. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up this episode from me. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, the first season of rebuilding Chelsea. I feel like the rebuild has really only just begun. It's going to be an interesting summer to decide which players I feel like I need to replace, hopefully getting a bit more experience in. We've got a fair bit of money to try and make some decent deals happen, and I'm hoping that that's going to be the case. And yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below. I do always check them out. And other than that, it is me, Jack. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out. Tonight